Self-development with tactics.
So, today we are gonna have a look at something. And I really gotta have to take a pretty strong piss, but but I just wanna record something now. Because it is something that I still need to be doing. We are gonna go ahead with another psychologytoday.com/int, which stands for international, since there is like actually a ton of countries that are included. For example, Argentina or Chile or Colombia, in South Africa, in Europe, also quite a bunch, the UK, Denmark, Spain, France, Belgium, and whatnot, and also North America entirely. But we're gonna have a look at maybe we're actually gonna have a look at the United States one, I guess. How and why to say no, a sense of awe and peak experiences. Most people can recall at least one extremely intense event in their lives that evolved transitory but profound emotional, well, blah, 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 blah. What does a baby's love tell us about trust? Why this is a mother's day to always remember, addressing 3 key questions about emotional intelligence. What the COVID-19 crisis is telling humanity. Don't let anyone tell you how to grieve. The philosophy and psychology of mind reading and language. 8 emotional benefits and 3 liabilities of having a dog. How Barbie changed a black girl's life. There's actually so much shit. Let's actually go through some Reddit things. You know, I do often find that I get really a lot out of it. Like insanely a lot. Your competition isn't other people, it is your procrastination. It's the unhealthy food you eat, it's the knowledge you neglect, it's the negative energy you tolerate. Compete against that. Which I think is actually a great saying, or a great way of putting things, because it's, first of all, not saying that the competition is somebody else, you know, somebody outside of yourself, but it is also saying, on the other hand, that it is not you yourself entirely. You know, it is just certain parts of you and certain, well, basically your decision making, which I think sounds better and more encouraging than saying, well, it is you. You are against yourself. Which maybe subconsciously, I don't fucking know the psychology of that, you know, but maybe this is doing something to you subconsciously, which is making you feel and act and do certain things, I guess. Whenever you're shocked by anyone's wrong behavior, ask yourself at once, isn't it then possible that there should be no bad people in this world? It is quite impossible, so you should not demand the impossible. Pretty interesting. This person is one of those bad people who must necessarily exist in the world. And keep this argument at hand for when you meet I think Wrath or Rogue. Oh, Rogue, a traitor or any other kind of villain. For as soon as you remind yourself that the class of such person cannot fail to exist, you will view them more kindly as individuals. Marcus Aurelius Meditations, book 942. I do, by the way, wonder which translation that is. You know? Because I read the translation of Marcus Aurelius Meditations and I didn't understand anything. So maybe it's been just a pretty old one, which makes it very difficult and very, not really easy to digest. And also for me as a non-native, very difficult to get something out of it. You know, I basically did not get quite anything out of it. Maybe a few bits, but you know, anyway. Being that we are all fallible, we all play the villains in other stories at some point. Which, by the way, is also interesting, that we all are, if we want to or not, a villain at some point of time. Maybe due to, it must not necessarily be the truth, even, Could just also be people acting in a weird way and acting in a dumb way, or acting, well, how should I say? They view you as somebody bad and somebody that did something bad to them, even though this is not entirely or not even kind of a bit of the truth. It's just how they view the world and how they see things, which definitely must not mirror their reality or be the reality or the truth or whatever. Whether I like it or not, I will come across challenging people, and I too will be challenging to others. The sooner I accept that, the more likely I will have the cognitive flexibility to react from a place of personal values rather than an angry, knee-jerk reaction state. But why the bad people are so many? Which is a comment. Well. And an answer was ignorance, I think. Also being a good person is hard sometimes. Well, yes. But not fully. I do get a lot out of being a good person and trying to be as good as I can, and also pushing myself towards being such a person. And I, when it comes to certain people, when it comes to certain things, I am just not. I also sometimes take the route of just not being the nicest dude ever, whatever. And I'm certainly also not going to be remembered, I guess, as the nicest dude ever. At least by certain people. People that, maybe have encountered me in a state that wasn't that favorable for that thing, or maybe just some other reasons and or variables and or whatnot. But in the end, I think, you can't control it. You just can't. You can't control how somebody is going to remember you. You can do your best to be as good as you think you can be by your definition of being a good person. But what other people think about you and how others are gonna react to you and so on and so forth, this is not in your hand quite. Yes, ignorance and especially delusion. Evildoers see themselves as taking the only possible course of action and therefore view themselves as righteous. If this is pronounced correctly, I actually don't know. Or at least they are justified in their actions. It is all about the stories we tell ourselves and how close or far removed from a clear and objective perception of reality they are. The justified part hits the nail on the head, like those who do evil to others because they were dealt similar evils. Yeah. Just the justification doesn't make any fucking sense. Instead of breaking the chain and rise above the evil, they give into the same twisted train of thought, which I sometimes see and which I often think that no, just because somebody's doing something doesn't mean that you should be doing the same thing as well, especially when it is something that you dislike and you are pissed about and you maybe even hate. And okay, a coworker is doing something, something that is pissing you off, that is, basically making his or her life a bit better. Maybe he or she is just leaving something uncleaned when you're working in a restaurant just because it's saving this person's time and so on and so forth. And so you decide to also do that, because this other person isn't also doing that, or is also doing so. This person is also not cleaning whatever, so I'm also not going to do that. I can understand the thought, and I can also understand the justification behind that. Okay, this person isn't doing it, so I'm also not going to do it. But why? You could do better, and you also should do better. And why don't you? Which I think is really not a good reason to not do that. And also, just saying, okay, you're going to be a better person and you are going to be this and that and these and those and whatnot. Like, for some people, this is going to work, but I think for most people, not necessarily, you know. I don't know. Like, I just really get a lot out of being a good person, trying to be as good as I can, and trying to be as nice as I can. But sometimes I gotta be honest, it also feels good to just be an asshole and to give a fuck about things and to be controlled by that anger. You know, I am in general am a pretty angry person, and sometimes this just also feels really good to go the route of, okay, I don't give a fuck about being nice. I don't give a fuck about how anybody's gonna remember me and what anybody thinks about me. I'm just gonna do whatever the fuck is benefiting me the most. This sometimes is also nice, you know. I just don't want to bullshit around here. Let's see. Today I learned that Nicholas Ferial, the jester of King Francis I, once slapped the monarch on his bum. Nicholas was to be executed for this deed, but the king promised to forgive him if he comes up with an apology even more insulting than the slap. And the jester delivered, "I mistook you for the queen." Well, but I mean, quite interesting apology. Today I learned that giant panda is no longer an endangered species. That the giant panda is no longer an endangered species. So, you know, it's cool if things are short, but if they don't make any sense, it's like a bit, yeah. That's a good one. I don't even know what this is all about, but it just sounds funny. Books like Steins Gate or Steins Gate, however, or anything related to mindfuckery. Another one saying mind-blowing shit left, right, center. I gotta check that out. And as far as I know, there's also an anime Steins Gate, if I recall it correctly. I don't know. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. It's the ultimate mindfuckery. House of Leaves. What is it about? Depressing scientist time travel. Piranesi by Susanna Clark. The Hike by Drew M. This Is How You Lose the Time War. All You Zombies by Heinlein is a great mindfuck short story. I do wonder what the definition of mindfuck is, you know? But maybe I'm actually gonna have a look at them. Can I somehow save? Yeah, thanks. I do wonder what other posts I've saved already, but anyway, let's see. I used to be really confident in myself, but after a bad relationship, started to feel bad about myself, unattractive, and although it's been a long time, I still haven't found myself yet again. Advice, please. I had a really toxic past relationship, and although I moved on from that relationship in person, the feeling of being ugly, quote unquote, is still there from constant rejection and quote unquote advice. Just wonder if there's something I'm missing here. It's been a long time ago and I should feel like myself again. I dress now as I like and do my makeup as I like too. It's just I keep having this feeling. Any advice on how to let go of this feeling of not being good enough, please? Well, something that is actually bothering me, and I'll get into something else as well. Like, why is everybody having a toxic relationship? Or has had, or whatever, or is having? I don't understand. I really don't. And it kind of pisses me off because I heavily believe that, you know, quote unquote toxic, you know, first of all, is connotated in a very badly way. In terms of, okay, if you say something is toxic, it's ultimately even worse than if you say, okay, something is bad or some shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, like, was it really entirely a toxic relationship? No, probably not. Of course, there are certain reasons why you break up, and of course, there are really indeed toxic relationships that are fucking you and whatnot, but not entirely. Like, this is really black and white, and I don't know, like, how somebody is asking a question, I think, is also really kind of revealing a certain amount of this person's character and personality. When I was 13, I gained 100 pounds in about 4 months due to depression. 2 years later, I starved myself to lose it all. Needless to say, my skin was fucked. I hated my body for the longest time. An emotionally abusive relationship that I ended 2 years ago after 4 years of putting up with his BS didn't help, but I'm finally accepting my body. I can do my best to work out and eat right, but the damage is still there, and that is okay. By the way, losing that much weight, I guess, is possible without fucking your skin. I think by working out and not by starving, I guess. Well, but I'm not sure. There's gonna be people that know more about that than I do, for sure. It's just about acceptance that 99% or 99.9% of people will never have the perfect body and dress whatever way you want. It is your body, wrap it in the way you want. I hope this helps. Yeah, I've been working out now for, I think, actually 5 to 6 years, but I don't remember. I do have certain pictures from 2016, looking skinnier than I do now. I still am not in the shape, and I think that I'll never be in the shape that I'd like to be, at least not naturally. Maybe if, I hop on some drug, then this could work, but I honestly don't think about doing so. Well, I don't think that I'm going to do so, but I think about it. Anyway, yeah, you're not going to have the perfect body, Sometimes when I'm having more weight, when I'm eating a bit more, when I'm allowing myself to eat more, I feel worse about myself, about the way that I look, and so on and so forth. But now I've lost a bit of weight, I've lost a bit of fat, I look a bit leaner and whatnot. But am I happy? No, I'm still finding I am happier. I look better, at least at my point of view. But you're still gonna find certain things that you dislike about your physique. Always. You're always gonna do so. It's just what it is. I went through a similar situation last year. I got into a relationship with someone who at first I really liked, who turned out to be a complete asshole, who berated me, made me feel hideous, even though I'm a perfectly average, attractive girl. Why, by the way, does it always have to be about men? It would be a lie if I said that it's not bothering me, but it, I don't know, I don't understand. Sometimes I kind of feel like that. I don't want to say that it's their fault. This is also regarding certain situations complete and utter bullshit. There is a ton of men that are pretty toxic and fucked up and are going to treat you in a really fucked up way. But I think so are there girls that are doing the same anyway. Even, consciously or subconsciously. I don't know. I really often believe in the good in people and don't necessarily think that anyone wants anything bad for somebody consciously. At least this is something that I like to think. Maybe I'm just wrong there. Of course, there's going to be some people that really do want to have that, but yeah, anyway. Before I met him, I had been feeling good about myself after years of loathing how I looked, and after this toxic relationship, I was completely broken. Since I broke up with him and started consistently meditating, exercising, reading, and doing creative things that I loved, gave me confidence, and slowly but surely I started to really love myself again. Every so often, though, I hear his terrible words coming to my mind like intrusive thoughts. I know that. You don't dress like a real woman. If you skip shaving your legs one day, you're not taking care of yourself. Why don't you wear more makeup, and on and on? It hasn't been easy, but it was a combination of coming to terms with the fact that he himself was insanely insecure about himself and projected it on me and my fault for putting up with the controlling, abusive behavior for that long. So my advice is just continue focusing on yourself, do things that make you feel good, be with people that build you up. I think over time your experience will have less and less of a hold on you. I myself have certain things in my head that, well, not something that somebody said to me, but most often some things that just happened, and I recall those things and I feel like, wow, that's been cringy. Anyway, I wish you the best. Stay safe, believe in yourself, and be a good person, as well as give a shit about what certain people think about you. And evaluate whether somebody is really toxic or not. Because they might just not be toxic. Bye-bye.